Dallas traffic. I know it's tough. We want to get everybody here on time so we can start on time, we go home on time. Start 15 minutes late, that means everybody going home 15 minutes late. Because we're still going to do our lecture, we're still going to have what we need, so let's try to respect everybody's time and try to get here as quickly as possible. Or text me, not email. Text me if you're running late, because I'm checking my email for the past hour, but I will text, okay? And we may start class ahead of time, or normal if you run late, but you'll catch up some other time. But welcome you guys, this is week 2. This week's class, of course, is going to be personal and business credit course. It's a course that in the past years, folks have said has really opened their eyes. People understand the difference between personal and business credit, how they relate to each other. This class will enlighten you and open your eyes about personal credit as well as business credit, and give you some ideas to help you with your personal credit and ideas too. If you don't already have business credit, how to obtain business credit and maintain that business credit, and tricks to the trade with both personal and business. But before we get started, a couple of announcements. I gave you guys a test via email. I gave you guys 10 questions, and I don't know if they're right or wrong, but I'm giving you guys a real test right here, okay? So I'm gonna pass this test out. It's just 5 of those 10 questions that I asked. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes, maybe 3 to 4 minutes to answer these questions. Notes, of course, use your brain. Notes are in your brain. Okay? My notes are. Say it again? Yeah. I'm always doing. This is something that it's not meant to make you struggle or pass or fail. The objective is what's most important in last class's lecture, so that you understand what we're trying to get across to you guys. But I am keeping track of the scores too, by the way. So, I mean, like in school when they would read out the test scores and you'd be embarrassed, you got a 20. That's the hate when teachers do that. You got a 20, everybody knows now.
Oh, but that was 20 out of 20, right?
No, that was 20 out of 100. Fookery, 20. Oh.
What language did you take that test in?
Yeah, really. You have to be a different language. Put your name on the test. There's no anonymity to these tests. I want to know who it belongs to. Don't write anybody else's name. Write your own name. No cheating. You may own the business together, but you can't answer together, Mr. Taylor. Keep your eyes on your paper.
I can't look over there.
No, you can't look over there.
I gotta make sure.
It's because you're going to business together. You're going to be tested together. No, we don't collaborate on tests. Individual. His neck was all like that. His neck was straining.
They say denied.
I could deny. If you finish, let me know. I'll grab yours sooner rather than later. Names are on, but names are on. without C. There you go. Thank you. That's everybody, right? All right. You guys remember Mike Quigley with SCORE? He's in the back. I'm gonna have Mike stand up, because I want you to realize that Mike and I are dressed right today.
We didn't call each other.
We coordinated. All right. But also from SCORE today, we have Ms. Terry Toomey. Ms. Terry wants to talk to you guys in a few seconds also. Terry is the president-elect of the SCORE chapter here in Dallas, and she just wants to talk to you guys, address you guys, and let you know something that's going on later this month. You guys should be interested in.
And I want you to know how important you are to us. That, on September 22nd, we are sponsoring a networking event. And this is for businesses who are in business. And it's called Contracts, Contacts, Cash Networking. The whole point of it is for small businesses to network with each other, so that if you have a need and maybe somebody else has that service, that you can work back and forth with the small business and help them. So on the front, you'll have your name tag, and on the back, on the top, will be a little description about your company. Don't make lots of words, because you're going to fill it in, but just what you do, and then underneath, what you're looking for. So if you're looking for, maybe you need a web developer, so that you'll put that there. And as you work the room, if you pass somebody and you see, oh, that's what I need, and then you can grab it. But it's going to be at the Eric Johnson Library, September 22nd. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. It's free. There's no charge. We will provide drinks for you, non-alcoholic. And if you want to come, I recommend you try and get there early, because the library parking will be free to you. If you need to park someplace else, you'll have to pay for that. So try and get there early. There's only 175 spots. We're hoping for 200 people. We already have 78 signed up. So if you're interested, I'll send out an announcement to everybody who's on your distribution list, so you'll all get it. And then just respond to the email, and it's all through Constant Contact.
What time?
6 to 9 p.m.
6 to 9.
Yeah. And my expertise is marketing. I'll be your guest lecturer on October 1st. And I hope that you know that no matter which SCORE counselor you're working with, you can work with any of us if you have a specific need. So, you know, you can work with Mike, or, you know, if you have something very specific that you need help with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. One thing we take for granted is a lot is peer-to-peer networking. And you guys do all can do all of it, because you're in the classroom together, but a lot of times you don't meet other business owners where you can do networking and understand that you guys can satisfy each other's needs by just talking to each other, understanding what each other do. This will be a good event where you can work with peers, other small businesses, to get your needs satisfied. Okay? We're going to move forward with Marina Perez with Money Management International. She's going to talk to you about personal credit. Marina.
Ready.
Yeah, what's more?
I'm gonna make the correction first, okay? Got the phone number?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name once again is Marina Perez, and I am with Money Management International, and I am the education specialist for Houston/Texas. I'm going to make a correction, my error. In the handout for your first session, this is the correct phone number right here. The phone number you should call us. There's 4 people as of yesterday that called in, and we caught them, and we'll go ahead and transfer them into this pooled phone number, but it's for reporting purposes. So this is the correct number.
All right, I emailed you the other form that had a Houston number.
Right, it was 877-654-9723. Those 4 people so far that I checked on yesterday, you're fine. But if you haven't called in for your session, please use that number, the 877-744-9723 for your session, okay? So please do use that number. All right, so my top topic tonight will be the credit reports and credit scores, this is for your personal credit. And inside I also have this evaluation form. This right here is confidential. It takes about a minute to fill out. You don't have to put no email address, phone number, or nothing. It's just to better the services out in our community and also what improvements needs to be done in my presentation. Okay? So once I'm done with my presentation, please do fill it out. The book itself is yours, Credit Reports and Credit Scores. And what I'm going to do today is give you the guideline as to what is your personal credit report. Everybody keeps telling us, hey, credit scores, 700, 800, and so on, and there we are, chasing that number, and once we get to that number, and you're applying for credit and you get denied, then what? You might even still get denied for that new loan. And why could that be, to get denied, if you have a perfect credit score of 700 or 800? What do you think? Why?
Sometimes it's your debt to income ratio.
That's the very first one, yeah. That to-income ratio, that's what they throw us at us out there. What were you gonna mention?
Or not enough open credit lines, you know.
Not enough credit? Okay, it could be too, yeah. So, I mean, that credit score number, it's very important, but there's other components that goes with that number, and that's what I'm gonna share with you today. And also how to interpret your credit report, what information it contains and why it's a habit there, and how to increase your credit scores, okay? So on page 2 is letting you know why is good credit important. And you can check for yourselves that why would this credit be important to you to have good credit on page 2. But the new one here will be certain job opportunities. For certain job opportunities. Here in the last 3 years, more and more the employers are checking our credit reports for job purposes in the last 3 years. It used to be back in the day that it was for financial advisors, bankers, what else? Realtors, public servants. They were checking their credit reports. But here lately, it's just becoming a normal that our credit report is being checked for employment purposes. I know that here you lately submit a resume online, but when that employer is interested in you, they'll call you in for an interview. And when they're doing so, they'll ask you to fill out their own application. And when you do so, somewhere in that application, there'll be a paragraph or a sentence that is telling you that that credit report is going to be checked, okay? And then when you sign that application, you're giving them permission to do so. So they're doing your background checks, and they're also doing credit report checks. And when they're doing that credit report check, it's not hurting your credit scores. I'll get more into inquiries here in a minute. Okay, so that's the new trend here that, you know, as of today, I want you to start learning about your personal credit and also make it part of your personal finances too. Somehow, at least once a year, check all 3 credit reports and see what's going on your credit reports, okay? On page 3, exactly what is a credit report? So, the credit report itself, it contains all of what you've asked to borrow in credit cards, car loans, mortgages, personal loans, signature loans. That information is compiled as a credit history for you guys. And what is the role of the credit bureaus? The credit bureaus, there's 3 credit bureaus: Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are your credit bureaus. There's no other ones out there. Those are the kings of the hills, the credit bureaus. And the purpose of these credit bureaus, they're warehouses. They're just storing our credit information, okay? That's what they're doing. They're not responsible to approve or deny our credit or to have any say like, you should take a look at this application. No, they just store the information. The lenders check at the credit bureau what you have. So having those 3 credit bureaus, they're not exactly the same. And not being the same, that's why your credit scores differ too. Because not all lenders report to all 3 of them. So say for example, you had a Discover card and it reported only in the TransUnion. So if this lender is pulling your Experian report, it's not gonna see the Discover account if that's the only one they're working with, you see? So the numbers also, they're differing in there. So that's why, again, all three credit bureaus are not exactly the same and they don't hold the same information, okay? So what's on my credit report and what's not? Very simple. In your credit report, you'll see your personal information, your credit information, public records if you have any, and collection information, inquiries, and I'll get more into that in more detail into the book. What's not on your credit report, your race, religion, medical history, there's no way that they'll report anything of an illness onto your credit reports. And because of the HIPAA law, it forbids them from putting anything in detail of an illness that you might have, or you have sent a message to them, they will not print it onto your credit reports. So on page 4 and 5, that's a sample of a credit report. And I'm gonna go through all of this information. On page 5, you have the answers to everything that you're looking on page 4, okay? So on page 4, it starts with your personal information. Your name, your address, your employer, maybe a phone number, okay? So where do you think that information is coming from? How did they obtain your address? Where did it come from? Anyone?
From your applying page.
From where?
From either you applying from applications or.
From the application. Every time you fill out your application, the data entry person at the credit bureau is gathering that new information. The reason I bring it to your attention is for several. The first one is that it is our responsibility to update that information. The personal information has to be updated by us. That's why if you've been looking at your credit reports lately and you still see an old address there, or you see an employer there that it's been 5 years or longer, it's not gonna move because you're not moving it. You are not updating the information on your reports. So it is very important that you update yourselves with each other credit bureaus that information, okay? The addresses, if you haven't lived there 3 years, 5 years, that needs to be gone. The other thing about your names, be very clear when you're filling out the application and be consistent with your names. Yeah, consistent, really. Yeah, because that one, it is so important when you're applying for a major loan, such as a mortgage loan, then the lender, sometimes depending on the lender, they'll see that many different names in there, and they'll, a little light will go in them and say that those are aliases. And we need to check and see if there's anything in those aliases. So the example is, say for example, my name is Josephine Jones. And when I started filling out for credit, I was putting it right. My name Josephine Jones, right? But then I have about 5 credit cards now. And I'm getting lazy about it. It's like, well, now I'm Josie Jones. So Josie Jones is gonna register on my credit report. And then later on now is that I'm at some department store, they're offering me 20% off, and they're telling me, hey, fill out a credit application and we'll give you 20% off. I don't want the credit card, I just want the 20% off. So what I did, I filled out the application with J. Jones. So that's my mistake in there now too. So I have Josephine Jones, Josie Jones, and J. Jones. That was my doing. So for us ladies that we get divorced or married and we need to change and update those names, it has to be done. For the men, using their suffix. If they're a junior, senior, the third, start using them and be consistent with it. Because once your child behind you guys starts applying for credit and they get mixed, it's a nightmare to get them undone. That is as easy. I mean, it's not sugarcoating it. It is a nightmare to get them undone. That hey, that's my son's credit. No, this is my credit, and you know, and you're just having to prove yourself. So instead of starting on the wrong foot, always be consistent with the name that you're using. Write clearly on the application, because whatever they see in data entry on the other end, that's what they're putting in your file. And that's why you see probably some even missed typos in there, because that's what they're seeing. I have never heard of a data entry clerk from that end call you and say, did you mean to put a T or is this an L? Right? It hasn't happened. It's just gonna go. And that's why you need to keep an eye on that area. It's very important. addresses and employers that, they're gone out of business or it's been more than 5 years, that needs to be cleaned up. Okay? Now, on letter B, it's an alert message. That alert message right there is for identity theft purposes. And that right there, it can be a temporary alert or it can be a permanent alert. The temporary will be for about 90 days. And that temporary will be in case like your wallet got lost right now or stolen. And you start calling all of your credit card people. But then in the back of your mind, you're still like lingering, maybe I didn't do it fast enough or something was left out. So you can call the credit bureau, one of the credit bureaus, Experian, let them know what happened and to transfer you to the identity theft department or the fraud department. And they start taking your information. And just let them know, at least for peace of mind right now, you need something temporary in there, which will be 90 days. But if identity theft has actually happened to you, then that will be transferred to a 7-year message in there. And then after the 7 years, it can be renewed again. Okay? So that's the identity theft message in there. Now, on letter C, on page 4, your consumer statement. That consumer statement, it is for you, for any of you, that if you've done a dispute and it was not resolved to your satisfaction, then you do have the right to kind of, defend yourself. And as you can see, look at how small, but yet so informative. You do not have to write a paragraph, a whole page, nothing of that kind. That one sentence is very powerful. It's telling you, I was injured on my job and could not make my car payment in 2007. So what year, what is it, and what happened? That's all they need to know. You didn't have to put, I have the injury, whatever injury it is, God forbid cancer, And like I told you, they cannot put that on your credit reports due to the protection of the HIPAA laws. So they will not go there. So that right there, you guys, is your responsibility to also enter that message if you feel that it will help. It doesn't guarantee 100% that you will be approved for the credit, but at least you're giving an explanation, and then, you have at least a 50-50 chance of getting that new account, right? All right, so then on letter D, those are your creditors. Those are the accounts you have, your credit cards, car loans, your mortgage. That's the information right there, your lenders. So this guy right here, let's go to 1 on letter D. It has an electronic store, it has a bank account, and a card, auto finance. I'm on number 1. Now I'm on number 3. It's a joint account, authorized user account, and individual account. Remember, your answer's on page 5 for the numbers and letters, okay? So joint account, authorized, individual. Now on 5, the months that it's been reviewed for each account. The electronic store has been reviewed for the last 36 months, the bank 44 months, and the auto for 24 months. Okay, so where I'm going with this is that for the trained eye, and that's why they approve us or deny us for credit card purposes, anywhere with a minute or less, because this is how quickly they're looking at this information and it can be read. Everything has a meaning, it has a purpose, so that's why we, as an individual, we have to make sure that all this information is correct and is ours too. So that's why I'm guiding you through as to how to read it, interpret, and why is it there, so you guys, when you start looking at your credit reports, start working on it too, okay? So if this person was to come into the store right now or apply for credit, would you be giving them credit, yes or no? Take a minute. Yes and no? It could be right. Seriously, it could be a yes and a no. A yes if you have a second chance program. A no because this is the reason. So I'm going into 10. It's a 0 past due, 0 past due, and now 400 past due. And what is it? The car is past due 2 months. 2 payments. Now the other important thing is number 11. So the rating of the accounts are, the statuses are R1, I1, and I5. Okay? Now this is the thing about it, that for the credit that we have, they carry different weight of the accounts, different priorities. The cards are more higher in value to see that, hey, you're being very, very responsible on paying your car every time. Which a credit card sometimes, you know, it could be overseen, it could, depending what you have on your report, and sometimes no, it will carry a lot of weight if that's all you have, credit cards. So with this person coming to me personally, I would say no. Why also? Because the first account is joint. So somebody's taking care of their credit. Maybe the other person is more responsible and they've been paying on time all the time. The other account is an authorized user. He only has permission to use that account. So it doesn't carry weight for him at all. And then the last one where it's solely his, and it is a car, the auto, that's where he's already, in 24 months, he has an I-5. So in 2 years, he's already been delinquent 5 times. See that? How quickly we put the little, that's what they call it, credit history. That's our history right there. That's what they're looking at. So that's what we have to learn and get familiar with what we have on our credit reports to start seeing, hey, what needs to get better, or leave it alone, or what do I need to do? Okay? So then on page 4, letter E, public records. Page 4, letter E. Public records such as if you file bankruptcy, if you have a tax lien, if you have owed taxes, those are public information. Collections accounts. So if your account goes into collection, your original lender sends this account into collections, it's reported to your credit report. It is also. This is how it goes with collection accounts. The lender, the original lender, for the most part, has up to 90 days, 3 months, to bring that account current. But if they can't find you, or if they cannot come into an arrangement with you to bring that account current, then this lender, your original lender, will send out the account to a collection agency, okay? So then that's where you start getting these calls. The collectors are calling you to collect that money. So your job, when you get that call, the first thing is to ask that collector is that, are you working the account for the lender, or did you buy the account from the lender? Because if they bought the account from the lender, then from here on, you will be dealing with collectors from there on. But if they're only working the account for the lender, I will tell you right now, you call the lender, you beg, you plead, you cry to bring that account back in there, and you'll be good now. Because that way you'll save yourself a headache from having accounts in collections. Once they go into collections, yes, they can sell that account 3 times, 5 times, 8 times. It can be done. So why does your balance grow with each transfer? Because the collector is penalizing us. They're charging us anywhere from 15 to 20% to collect on that money. That's by the account. So it already has weight when it goes into the collection, because you were over the limit fees, the late fees, the interest rate got out of control. So when you think you had only owed them $500 and now it's $700, all of those penalties have been charged to you already, up to 7, let's say, for example. Then by the time the collector gets a hold of that account, remember they're gonna attach anywhere from 15 to 20% more into that balance. And that's why your accounts keep growing and growing and growing. Got it? So now the thing about collections too, in 2008, when the industry of housing came down, a lot of craziness went on, right? Well, now there's some who wanna be collectors, or wanna be smart collectors, that are coming out of the woodwork and calling some people and saying, hey, there's a collection account I have for you and you owe me money. Now you guys, if you're not informed and know that if that account is still owed, or it should have been already off your reports, because you've been looking at your reports and it should be like gone if it's been over 7 years. If you don't know that, some of you or somebody out there is giving in to say, oh yes, I do owe that account. Well, you see, that's why I'm urging to you that from here on, you look at your credit reports every year to make sure you know what's going on. Because at that point, you could have defended yourself. If that account is not on your credit report, guess what? It has reached the statute of limitations, and that account is gone. They shouldn't be collecting on that anymore. But you have to know, and I'll get into that too in another page about the time frames it stays on your credit reports. So when a collector calls you, and if you're not informed or well educated yet as to how to read it or how, you know, what is on the report, there's a couple of things you can protect yourself with. Number one, when this collector is calling you, instead of going, like how you found me, no, you're gonna be prepared with some questions for them. You're gonna get all of the information you can. Their name, their extension, their manager, who they work for, anything that you can get just to also get a hold of them. The second thing, this collector has to send you a statement within the first 5 days of contact. Within those 5 days, he's calling you today, he's telling you you owe something, then you say, I need that statement, and you should receive it within the first 5 days. You don't have that statement, guess what? You don't owe the debt. You see that? As you're talking to the collector also, that I owe this amount, okay, also ask them, like I said, their personal information and the ID collection license number, their tax collector numbers. You can ask them for that. Because then you can go to the Attorney General's into the Consumers Department and run the number and see if they can collect in the state of Texas. So you see, there's some couple of steps you can follow and do to protect yourself and to help yourself and not be in doubt, do I owe it or I don't owe it? Okay? So that's when you feel that that's been 10 years ago. Or if you've been looking at your credit reports and it's fallen off, it's like it really hasn't, it has fallen off and I don't owe that debt anymore. I pay my dues too. So that's some of the things you can look for. The other thing about settlements, paying less for what you owe. Be very careful. Once again, get it all in writing. Do get it in writing. The amount that you're gonna settle for, who you talk to, how it's gonna be paid, how is it gonna be reported to the credit bureau? Paid in full or paid settled? Because paid in settled, it also in the future, as you're applying for new credit, that entry will be there on your credit report underneath the account. And when the new lender sees that, they'll say, oh, this person doesn't meet full obligation. So it can just, you know, be a reason to deny you of new credit. Now the other thing about that in settlements, you will need to ask, because they're not telling you for the most part, that if you're gonna be getting a 1099-C, 1099-C, and that one is sent directly from the IRS, the 1099-C. So when you're doing a settlement and you're not paying in full your balance, and they're forgiving $600 or more of what you owe, then you're at the risk of getting a 1099-C. And that 1099-C, again, is from the IRS. You will report to be paying as earned income on that amount, okay? Do not ignore those letters after the settlement, because you'll say, well, why is the IRS contacting me? What does that have to do with anything? That's what's going on. And if you don't deal with IRS has the normal consequences as your own tax money, with penalties, with garnishment, and so on. So 1099-C, okay? And then also the bigger thing also on that is how are you gonna report it to the credit bureau? Paid in full or paid in settled? Right. Now, inquiries. Who is checking your credit? And again, on page 5, read through that so you can get more familiar as to what those letters and numbers mean to you, okay? On page 6, it's letting you know to get your credit reports once a year and for free. that we giving them business or that we want to advertise for them. This annual credit report, it was built for us consumers through the FACT Act, which is the Fair and Accurate Credit Transactions. So it gives us a chance to look at our credit reports once a year for free. This annual credit report, it does not have automatic scores, but you can buy them from them. And I will do recommend that you do buy them from them because it comes directly from the credit bureau, from each of the credit bureaus. So you can order it online, you can order it by phone, or you can order it by mail. And again, I do stressing right now that you do start pulling your credit reports at least once a year because identity theft is going on around right now. And that is the largest silent crime going on. And I don't want that, you know, when you're ready to go in for your business loan or your next account, that the lender is educating you and telling you like, hey, you put 5 accounts on your application, but I see 8 on your credit report. What's going on? You see? So you guys should be ahead of the game. When you're gonna purchase a house or a car, we recommend that you pull all 3 credit reports 3 months prior to that purchase. 3 months. So that way, if you have to do a dispute or an update, you're running in track. You're doing good because a dispute takes 30 days to be resolved. So be prepared. Again, we don't want the lenders to babysit us or to educate us because the job of the lender is to give you a loan, to do business, and they're ready to go that quickly. And for them to say, oh, well, you know what, you gotta go and see if you can find that statement, or you gotta dispute it. Dispute it takes 30 days. We're slowing the process for you and them. We gotta be fast too. We gotta stay on top of our game, okay? So when you're buying a house or a car, they're pulling all 3 credit reports, okay? All 3 of them. When you're applying for a credit card, it could be either one. And the most often used credit bureau is the Experian Credit.
Why
Experian.
Why do they use that one the most?
It has the most weight on it. It has more weight. So when you use for a credit card purposes, I mean they can pull from TransUnion too, but I mean that's the way it goes. In Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion is your last one. The TransUnion carries the last weight, and if you see in your credit reports, TransUnion hardly has anything. But yeah.
What do you mean by it has the most weight?
Information. Just what I said. Your lenders, most of the lenders are in your Experian report versus your TransUnion. So if you see in your credit reports, all 3 of them, you can do the comparison and say, you know, there will be more in one than the other. So that's the information, how to get a hold of them. In the book itself, in the gray areas or black areas, it lets you know that if you need some type of form or additional information, that you can log into our website and you can download the form itself, okay? Let me also share with you that the Credit Card Act in 2009, it prohibits people under 21 to have credit card.
Say that
Under
again.
21.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The Credit Card Act of 2009 prohibits people under 21 to have a credit card. The only reason that they could have credit will be if they're employed and they can show a proof of income. The second one will be if they're authorized users or they're going to be joint account. That's the only way they can have, not as an individual. Well, individual if they have work and they can show proof of income. This happened because back in the day, remember, before 2000 college, everybody was set up with tables and sandwiches and t-shirts and you know, by the time they were done, people had 5 credit cards, 10 credit cards. Well, finally, it just happened in 2009, but it's here. So just so you can know, they can have a debit account. That's totally different. But credit card debt, it is 21 and under, they are not supposed to. The other reason I mention this is because, as I mentioned, identity theft is going on and it's going on strong right now. Really, check your children's credit reports too. Because since they don't have anything, they could be using, someone could be using their social security and building credit on them already. Yes, it's happened. The last story I heard, it was in San Antonio. This for the children, you will have to actually contact the credit bureau themselves because they're gonna ask you for more information. It's not as normal as what we do. They probably ask you for, I don't know, birth certificate or something, but you will actually first contact the credit bureau, and the credit bureau will let you know what information they need for you to submit so they can check. And at the same time, if you're gonna do that, I would recommend that you freeze their social security, their credit reports, the history right there and then. Because remember, I just told you, 21 and under, they shouldn't have any credit. So that way you don't have to be now every year like, did it happen this year? Or, you know, in the alert, might as well put it to sleep right now, lock it, and move on, okay? So that's, you need to check your children's, there's some parents out there, their credit is already hurting, and temptation, they'll use their kids' social security number, okay? So on page 7, how can my credit report be used? We talk for approval purposes. Every time you submit a credit application, that you need a new account, new loan, your credit is being checked. Employment purposes, I already explained it to you. For insurance, insurance will be when you're buying car insurance or house insurance. And your agent will tell you, I'm gonna check your credit report. It is against the law to use your credit report, especially for premium purposes. So if you hear something like that, well, I need to check your credit report to see how much is gonna be your monthly premium, that's a no-no. You can report them into the insurance, state of Texas insurance, or backwards, insurance, state of Texas, and report them. Also, I'm gonna talk about inquiries. They shouldn't be hurting your credit scores by checking this for insurance purposes. But now that you're an informed consumer, you will ask anyone that wants to pull your credit report, is this gonna hurt me or is this not gonna hurt me? So you can make a decision from here on now.
I have
Okay?
a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If the insurance company is pulling credit reports and it shouldn't be reflected in the premium, why do they need to pull it in?
Because a lot of people, again, since we're not informed consumers, they wanna pull a fast one on us. And that's a no-no. That's why I'm letting you know right now. So for insurance, professional licenses will be, again, financial advisors, bankers, realtors, probably, police officer. They check credit reports. In response to a court order, federal jury subpoena, I personally have never seen that, but as you can see, it's important enough to be in print. It could happen to someone, and if it does, yes, it's something that is legal or it can be done. IRS itself, there's no need to explain that one. IRS is IRS, right? And for review or collections, review, it is that for the lenders, the creditors that you have right now established, they go behind the scenes once a year into our credit history and see how we're doing with our credit. And that's how you obtain this pre-approved application. That's what they're doing. They're fishing for new business. So they see very limited information and then they send that application pre-approved. Because once you call on them, if you're interested in applying for that account, that's when you're actually gonna create that inquiry, the hard inquiry, to look into your credit report. So that's what it's saying for review and collections. I already mentioned all about collections a minute ago. Let me tell you, collections, it could be from here, I've seen it just about all. Public libraries in Houston, they're reported in credit reports now. If you're not returning a book or you have late fees, they're reported to the credit bureau also. And sadly, I've seen it myself, and I saw this lady had a $5 balance. $5. And she was like, I didn't even know it was there. I said, yeah, that's why we gotta look at your credit reports. So So public libraries, cell phones, apartments, medical, discontinued utility bills. I mean, pretty much you can think about it, it can sit there. Payday loans, title loans, it just goes on and on. Okay? On page 7 is giving you each individual contact for each of the credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. On page 8, reviewing your credit report for errors. A lot of people send you home and say, go fix it. And then you go home and it's like, what am I fixing? You know? They don't guide us, they don't tell us, it's just go fix it. Well, here you have a guideline that when you're looking for the errors, you're actually looking at your accounts, that making sure that the open date is correct, that the history is correct, that the balance is correct, that they're giving you credit for every payment. That's what you're looking for, all of that information. And then in that page 8, towards the bottom, information of retention standards. You see that? I know it's a very small print. But again, you can download this form. The information for retention standards, that is telling you exactly how long the information will remain on your credit reports. Okay? So for inquiries, when they're reviewing your credit report for credit purposes, it stays there 2 years from the print date. 2 years. And it'll fall off automatically. They have some kind of alarm system or some follow-up at the credit bureaus, and they fall off automatically. 99% of them are correct, but that's why it is, again, our responsibility to come behind them and making sure that that information has fallen up and it is updated. You know, nobody's perfect. There's no something that it will be done so ever greatly and correct to the point most of the time. So the inquiries, we heard back in the 2000, like, oh my God, every time they check my credit report, it's hurting my credit scores, right? We all learned that. It's like, okay, I'm gonna apply for credit and here comes the credit scores. When you're applying for credit, it's dropping anywhere 3 to 5 points per inquiry. 3 to 5 points. Why the gap? Because it's depending on what account, what kind of account you have applied for, department store versus a loan or car loan. And then again, the gap is because depending on the lender, what kind of a formula they have used in looking into your credit. So there is a gap between 3 to 5 points per inquiry. How do you recuperate, or how long will it take you? It will probably take you anywhere from 6 months to a year, depending on the activity on your report, to start building those numbers again. We grow at a very slow pace, whereas when we're defaulting on the accounts, we fall quickly. We do. If you were to miss a car payment, how many points do you think you'll fall? If you were to completely miss the car payment, how many points do you think? Anyone?
10 to 15.
Let's try 50.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
And the higher
Yes.
you score, the worse it'll hurt you.
Yes. Your higher your score, there's more cushion, so they eat more. Yes, and then as you are paying on a timely manner, you're growing at a pace of 3 to 5 points per payment. Yes, it does hurt. That's why our credit so quickly, it drops in a matter of a month, because that's how many points they're subtracting from it. So,
Excuse me, ma'am.
the inquiries.
How does the credit report come out? Like, who made this up?
The lenders and the bureau had some kind of say, but the lenders' formulas.
Whoa, what do you mean, of crosshairs?
It's a joint combination of lenders and bureaus.
Like back in the 1950s or what?
No, this just came about the credit scores. We were not, back in the day, it used to be, what was it? It was like a high, medium, and something. but it was not even scores. The scores just probably more strongly enter in 2000s now, since 2000, but no. And you see
Like
the,
700 scores, 600 scores, is that what he's talking about?
no, he's just talking in general, where did the scores come from?
She has a question.
Yes,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yes, I was approached by a lady a couple of weeks ago. She asked me, you know, if I was a renter or owner, and basically she was saying that if you rent, it can go towards your credit score, and I was kind of curious how that happens. Yeah.
not unless you default, because it will go into collections, and
Of
if
course.
you know, skip out on the deposit, or, you know, if the place is not left in good standings, and you didn't pay before it gets to reported into the collections, then that, yes, but for paying rent, it does not show on your credit report, does not.
But you can add it if you need non-traditional trade lines to get a mortgage though. You
Can add it?
Yes,
A
I used to
rental
do
payment?
mortgages, yes. As long as you take it to the credit bureau, where you pull the credit report from, they'll add it as a non-traditional trade line and make that distinction on there. So when they're going through underwriting, you can show that you have credit history in order to get a loan.
That is big news to me as of right now. I learn something every day, and that is, as you can see, that is news to
Excuse me,
me.
could you repeat that again, please? I didn't hear that. Could
As
you-
non-traditional credit, if you take that information to the credit bureau, they will report it to the credit bureau as non-traditional credit. I know as in general, because I teach the first-time home buyers workshops, that they do, you can submit non-traditional credits such as paying rent, a couple of utility bills, your cell phone. They'll consider that, but not all lenders do that. You would have to ask them, do you work with non-traditional credit? Yes, you can ask. You know, that doesn't hurt. So that's on page 8 right there. Page 9. There's a dispute form if you want to submit some disputes. Very simple to fill out. Also, you can download it. It tells you what's the process of the dispute, how long does it take, and follow the instructions in case you have some disputes. Okay? Page 10. What if identity theft? What if? So you're gonna deter, detect, and defend. You've got to stay on top of things. Here's some service products on TV saying that, hey, they'll protect you and inform you, but nothing is foolproof. It's not. So you gotta do your part too. And you know, by changing passwords every 90 days, don't share the password. As simple as it sounds, that's how they're still getting us. That is by the passwords, or you're on the website and you start clicking because you get like really fast, or that other pop-up, you know, looks interesting and you just click on it. So be very careful, take your time, okay? But it's giving you information about identity theft in these 2 pages. And on page 12, voila, we have arrived, Houston. Credit scores. So credit scores, the FICO credit score ranges from 300 to 850, the FICO score, and that is the king of the hill score right there, FICO. So 300 to 850. When you're looking at your credit reports and you're seeing numbers, it's like, okay, so what does that mean to me, right? A good credit score starts at 640. So the 640 and higher, the much better for you. 680 and 720 is considered almost excellent credit score. So 640, it gets you your foot in there for good products. Interest rates, maybe no down payment, maybe no you know, large amount of a down payment, but it's a starting point, 640. But then once you start growing and you're above about 680 and 670, that is great. But then remember, right at the beginning, I told you, you have that great score, that number, right? It can be, you know, it depends. Let me walk you in here. In the middle of that page, you see a pie chart, right? So it's telling you how your credit scores grow. The first one, 35% of payment history, okay? So pay on time your credit. That's the big secret to it, paying on time. The second one, amount owed to creditors, 30%. This is for credit card debt. They're looking at credit card debt to have a balance of 30% or less of the line of credit you've been initiated, 30% or less. Back in the day, 5 years ago, it used to be a window of 30 to 50. So that was at least a big gap, and there was a window. Here they're more strict of 30% and less that you're using your lines of credit. So as you can see, with those two in control and doing good, you're at 65% of the weight of how your credit scores grow. 65%. Then you have length of credit history. So this right here is taken in consideration when you open the account, when you last paid the account, and when you even last used the account. Okay? The next one, it says amount of new credit. So new credit, if you have a credit card that you just opened right now, depending on the lender, new credit, it can be from 6 months to a year. It depends. Because you gotta start sending some payments, remember? And that's what's making your credit scores grow. So here in 6 months, you have accumulated a couple of points in there. And then if you have other accounts, then that's even much of a strength for your report. So your payments is the movement, the activity that you have in there to make your scores grow. Payments on time, okay? And the last one, types of credit in use. What I mentioned earlier, the variety of the accounts, that a lot of people think that it's a lot easier to obtain just department stores. Well, department stores, gas cards, Visas, MasterCards, they all have different weights. So do a mixture of account. Have a car loan, have a credit card, have a department store. And right now also, less is best. Back in the day, in 2000, I was doing counseling, and I would see people with their wallets that look like accordions, and no baby pictures, but they had every credit card that you can think of. Well, now, like I said, 2 credit cards, that's fine. You have it under control. Now, the other components to your scores are the 3 C's of credit. Have you heard of that? The 3 C's?
Let me take a break.
So if you want to make note of it, because it's not in the book. This is the other component when you're applying for mortgage or any type of loan, seriously. And I believe, seriously, I heard, and I'm not familiar yet, there's 5 C's of credit when you're doing a business loan. Yep, I've heard that one. 5 C's of credit. So this right here, personal credit, the first C is capacity. The first C is capacity. I'm on page 12, talking about credit scores. Because remember, I had told you, you guys, we've been running for a credit score, and once we obtain it, it's like we can even still be denied of credit. So this is the other component added to the credit score. Capacity will be, are you working regularly and have enough income to support the new account? That's capacity. Are you working regularly and have enough income to support the new account? That's why they throw it as sometimes your debt to income ratio is too high, too low, things like that, right? That's where they're coming from. Because of the income that we have right now, they can already see that, a lot of people say, well, I pay on time my debt. Yes, but sometimes they can read and see that you've been using probably one credit card to another and paying them off, and the balances are not coming down. That's how they're looking at and reading. So capacity. The second C will be character. Character. Have you used credit before and paid it on time? Have you used credit before and paid it on time? Character. And your last C will be collateral. So collateral, is there any thing that can guarantee if you were to default on that loan? Values. What are your, anything of values? You have a checking account, savings account, anything that can be sold and turned into cash. So you have capacity, character, and collateral. Those are the 3 C's, along with your credit score, what the lenders are looking at. On page 13, it's telling you about the price of credit. So if you have good credit, if you were purchasing this car, if you have good credit, if you have mid-level credit, or if you have poor credit, how much will you end up paying for that? Okay? So, guys, credit is not bad. It's knowing when to use it and how to use it. And just as you read instructions for any other thing that you're reading, following a diet or putting up some new item up and you have to read instructions, we have to read what the credit card is telling us, the terms, those contracts. I mean, you think just for the heck of it, they send us pages and pages of these little letters and numbers and telling us, they're informing us of something. They're giving us a message, and it is our responsibility to read it. So we got to just pay attention to all of that. It is like, oh no, I just have the credit card, I know how to use it, and everything goes to the trash. No, you gotta start reading your contracts. On page 14, how can I possibly impact my credit score? So I've talked about make sure your credit report is accurate, pay bills on time constantly, reduce the balances on the account. The last one says, avoid companies claim they can improve your credit scores. Please, learn, please. You cannot pay. Well, yes, you can. But what they're doing is what we should be doing ourselves. And since we're not educated and we find it time consuming, that's why they're charging us for their service. So look, this is why I said at the beginning, credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Anything that you're hearing on TV, on radio right now, like Fix My Scores or credit repair, those are quick fixes.
They usually come back.
Yes, because they're working on borrowed time. Exactly. They will come back. If it's yours, by law, it comes back to you. So that's what they're doing. Since you're not an informed consumer, when you're doing a dispute, even yourselves, that entry is removed for 30 days until they do their findings. It's removed. So these people here, some of them that they're not on the up and up, they'll go and print the report right away and say, hey, I've done my job. Here it is. Now pay me, and you pay them. You're ready to go for new credit in 3 months, 2 months, and there's that account again. It's like, what happened? That's what happened. You're working on borrowed time. That's what happened. So be very careful, because just stop and think another thing. Number one, most of those messages, you see it on light poles. Now, come on. Really. Number two, if everybody had pretty credit, do you think we will be sitting here learning about it? What's the point? Right? They would have fixed your credit already. And everybody will have pretty credit and nice credit and ready to roll. It's not gonna happen. We gotta put forth effort to it and do it ourselves. So please don't pay anyone, because they're charging a pretty penny. I just saw an ad coming in from Houston saying $99 a month. A month. Like, ouch. $1,200 a year. Not gonna happen. Not in this watch. So, and then how can I establish or reestablish credit? Seriously, as basic as it sounds, having a checking account and a savings account, because your bankers will get to know you. They'll see that history, that you're keeping money long enough in savings, and if you're not having insufficient funds in the checking account, they see the responsibility, how responsible you're being. So they can start working with you with some kind of a product with you. So open a checking account and a savings account. The next one, making large down payments, and as we spoke earlier too of alternative credit, depends on the lender. Not all of them are using it. Okay? And with that, I am done with my topic. Is there any questions?
Yes. Why do we have 3 credit unions, 3 credit bureaus in the first place?
Why do we have 10 banks?
Well, I mean,
The competition and the difference of it, it gives us a variety. We're not just like struck into one. and at their mercy. At least there is two other ones as a backup, and one can be more fair to you, as you can see in the score, versus the other one is lacking information or is just looking pretty. So
Okay.
that's why.
If you, when you have to pay for your credit score, do you have to pay for the score from all 3 credit bureaus?
Each individual credit bureau sells it to you.
Oh, okay. I
And
see
if
why
you go
they're doing
through
that.
the annual credit report, it will sell you all 3 of them. Through the annual credit report, you can order it all 3.
Okay.
But you can also get it, and I do recommend, because Credit Karma, if you've done business with them and you're familiar with them, they were working on a short list. They were only using one credit bureau, and it was TransUnion. So your numbers were not accurate 100%. You thought you had 700. You wanted to go and buy a car this weekend, and then this dealer, the salesman will say, your score's not 700. Because they're working with the TransUnion. I believe they're integrating. Now they're using another one. Yes. They're using another one. Yes.
With the getting a secured credit card or line of credit, how does that affect your credit and help to build your credit?
Secured credit card is a good step to start with. You're working within your own money and you're being responsible to stay within that line of credit. Maybe a year or 6 months, depending on the lender, you can ask them to relieve you, and then you can use their own monies. But that is a good way to start. And I believe Capital One do offer secured credit cards.
About how many points or what kind of increase would you be looking at with,
Making payments,
payments successfully over the course of maybe 6 to 8 months?
Again, if that's the only account you have, you're gonna be earning anywhere 3 to 5 points.
Okay.
Okay? Payments are about 3 to 5 points. Yes.
When we were going on page 8 about how many years it takes for certain things to drop off, I
Mhm.
didn't see medical bills,
That's a collection account.
that's correct.
All right. I'm out of time, guys. I appreciate you for your questions and participations, and I wish you the best of luck. I'll be back next month.
Marina, from Houston, we're off the highway, so let's thank her for coming.
Who's going to tell us about the other 2 C's of credit? You told
Your
us about
business
Hillary.
credit.
Yes, business credit. Is that gonna be you, Leon, or you, Lou? Which one you got?
Sure can.
Mr. Taylor, we got you covered. We got you covered. All right. A couple of things, some housekeeping. Mr. Quigley asked you guys about your mentors. Who has not been reached by their mentor by a show of hands? Who has not gotten a call yet? Hands up, not hands like this. So about half of the class. Okay, at break time, let Mr. Quigley know, and because I'm passing out your list of assignments, your mentor is assigned, just take this and pass it on. And if you hadn't heard from him, he wants to know. Okay. Because they actually go ahead. Has everyone opened their savings account? Who has not opened their savings account by show of hand? No, give me the gavel, please. Everybody lined up, and you getting busted. You come first in this class. Hands again, hands up again. Whoever not open the savings account. If you don't open that account by next week, don't come back. My next class, right? My next class. Next week, next class. Open that. Leon gonna kick y'all out. I'm telling y'all right now. He gonna kick y'all out. Leon has good things he wants. Leon wants to talk to you guys too. Extras.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, we're going to try and be here for one, or a member of my branch will be here for every meeting, just moving forward to help support you guys and answer any questions about your accounts or anything like that we can. I just wanted to come today and bring Luke over. For those that haven't came to the branch and met all the staff, Luke is the other banker that we have there, so when you come in, if I'm not available, even if I am available, I'm going to give you over to Luke, or I'm going to give you to Manuel, for the other experts. They're the ones going to get you all set up and take care of you. Just a reminder for those that haven't opened their accounts, not looking at anyone, but bring your documents. We have to have your documents on file for our auditing purposes, so please make sure you have those, so we can get a copy of them, and we'll give you the originals back. and just be ready to learn a lot of the things that I forgot your name already. Marina talked about. Luke and Manuel talked to you about as well as business credit. And then a little different for us, we like to start really by knowing you. I think I said this last meeting. We want to get to know who you are, you personally, and then we'll get to know your business and your baby. So all of you have my card, or at least you should. If we need to make special arrangements to take care of your account, give me a call, send me an email. We'll try to make that happen, make some accommodations so we can get y'all set up. No one needs to get kicked out of this class because we just had deal day yesterday, and above the mark, I had 10 to 15 people wanting to get part of this program because it's really good. So take advantage of it. And any way that Luke or myself or Manuel or anyone from Gas in the Hat School, Capital One can help you guys, let us know. Okay? I don't have a card.
Questions?
As far as the documents, what all documents did you need?
What type of account? What type of business is it?
Okay.
Like sole proprietorship, we need your DBA. If it's a corporation, we need your certificate of formation.
Also, don't forget to contact your MMI counselor as well by next class, by next week. That's by Tuesday. Because I emailed you guys this Tuesday with the contact info, get the wrong number, but you have the correct number, that piece of paper from MMI. Call by Tuesday, 24/7. You can be a number by your night.
Even though they know we're wrong.
We're still a good number. We just subtract it from each to make a combination sometimes. Hold on. Take a talking.
Because I already took the appointment with my advisor.
Hold up, guys. One person talking, and Leon has the floor right now.
No, that's all I have.
Okay,
That's
go
my
ahead.
questions.
Okay, so this number, they gave me an ID number on the wrong page.
Okay.
So do I need to call back with the right number and use the ID number?
Yeah, call through the
So
right
it's supposed-
number,
right.
but use the ID, the 32 blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah, you can use the ID. Right, exactly.
Well, I was already set up for next Tuesday for my interview, my first interview, so, and I used the number that I received from my wonderful teacher.
No, it was my error.
Oh.
I did it. That's why I'm correcting it. He's just the messenger. I was the delivery. Uh-oh. Use the correct number, please.
Okay, so I don't need to look at that, I mean, I don't need to adhere to that.
Call the correct number, use your ID number.
Okay.
32 blah blah blah.
Yes, ma'am.
Please,
Okay.
for those that have called, yes.
Anybody, you have questions or anything?
I have a question. You have to read.
Hold up.
I don't know the number that I give to you.
There's a number on that phone right there in bold. Call that number, set your appointment.
Or if there's a counselor available, they'll take it right there and then. The only thing that they're taking appointments is because if you don't have the right time, because it takes about 45 minutes to an hour, or if they're extremely busy, which the phones have been busy here in the last few days. But we're 24/7. You can take advantage on a Sunday.
Y'all there at night,
Yeah.
calling him on the flake gate, just call. Okay. Put a question over here.
It's just the ID number. They will give us an ID number
Yes.
when we call.
Yes.
right?
Your
But that's-
personal information is creating your file, and that's that ID number starts with a 32 something something.
Right.
They send an email now too. I received-
Hold on. Yeah,
Are
no,
you
email us
saying that if
too.
we've already set our appointment, that we need to call back? And we
Well,
already
you only have
an
an appointment. I'm not sure if the agreement was that your counselor is gonna call you, or you're supposed to call at the time of the appointment.
But do I need to call back?
No,
No.
just make sure you're
What's
doing
the
using the right
information?
number. Yes.
Right.
Ma'am?
Oh, okay, I thought, please.
Okay. Let's move on, next question.
Wait, no, more.
Okay.
Okay. I think she was asking us, the question I have, I didn't hear you, if I already did my appointment.
Same question she's asking. Did you sleep when she
If
said
you're
no?
over and done with the appointment, you're good. We're gonna transfer your information to the right place. But from here, if you're calling us, just use this number, please.
No.
Okay?
Any other questions? Questions? And again, after we go to break, not now, let me quickly know if you guys have not heard from your counselor. He just wants to keep track of all that, okay? Test scores. I just want to go over, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. If you want your test score, just come see me. But I had a handful that had perfect scores, and I want to read on the perfect scores. Okay? I did real good, yes. The highest you get 110 points. Let's go over the question. The first question is, you should always lead off your introduction with your title, such as hairstylist, CPA, etc. The answer is? Answer is? True. False. 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 You can have multiple pitches based upon different target audiences. The answer is? True. This type of pitch persona is known as an emotional connector. Can get people to talk and listen, but always enjoys to work alone. Dolphin. This type of pitch answers what you can do for a prospective customer and why they should choose you. Funding pitch, opportunity pitch, sales pitch, or elevator pitch? Sales pitch. Which of the following is used to solicit money from a banker, venture capitalist, or other type of investors? Funding or business pitch?
Funding.
Right. Bonus. Bonus is worth 5 points. The question is worth 20. Out of the following, which is not a pitch persona? Shark, dolphin, walrus, seal.
Walrus.
Walrus. She didn't have a walrus. She had a little jacked up other thing with pink and everything. But, this type is used to introduce yourself and is often called the 60-second pitch. The elevator pitch. Everybody got that all right. It's L1. All right. Perfect score, Jasmine Jernigan. Lisa Williams. Lisa Williams. Armando. Aquandra. Spencer. Lakeisha Montgomery. That's it. But everybody else did good as well. Those are the perfect scores. So give yourselves a hand. I'm keeping these, but if you want to see test score, come see me, I'll let you know. At break time, not right now. Next, we're going to have Norman talk about business credit, so we're going to take a 5-minute break while he sets up. 5 minutes. Test, Eduardo. Packed up, so you got one something.
We got to go,
Okay.
coincide
All
right there for you.
All right.
I'm with you. You see, I'm with you.
Right. You got to go. All right. The next session hopefully won't be an hour, but Marina drove from Houston. He drove from New Orleans. So it's 8 hours. 8 hours. Dedicated. Now, how did they excel? 1985. This is Norman Rousseau for Start Smart LLC and his own business. He helps individuals, business owners with business credit as well as writing business plans. He's not going to work with you guys on the business plan aspect, but he will work with you guys on business credit. He's here to talk to you guys about business credit, so let's welcome Mr. Rousseau.
So, I've known Mark a long time. He's referencing my previous experience as a nonprofit. I do not help people with business credit or build business credit anymore. We did do that for almost 10 years after Katrina, successful at it. That's where the information that we do training on basically comes from. And so I'm not going to get into a lot of details on that stuff because we are pressed for time. So we're going to jump right into it. You've got a red folder. Oh, in the books. Mark, can you guys pass out the books? Because I'm going to refer to a couple of pages in the book that I don't remember what pages they are. Oh, no. I'm also going to let you guys know who in this group, based on the information I could find, has already established at least a business credit profile. Maybe not full business credit yet, but definitely the starting points. Do not have my notes. All right. This isn't on. All right. Now we're ready. Well, does everybody have a book yet? All right. And I did write the book, in fact.
Pictures on the back.
My bills to maintain my personal credit and the research for this book are the two things that I left New Orleans with when I evacuated Katrina, and later completed the research and published the book. We just celebrated Katrina. I'm getting started on that. So our learning objectives today are to introduce you to key facts, terms, etc. that are relevant to business credit. Introduce you to the business credit bureaus. You heard about Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion on the personal side, where there's some similar, but then some other ones on the business side. Teach you how to set up your company properly. It's not enough to say you're in business, and based on my search of some of the names in Dun & Bradstreet, it seems like there's some confusion on them. So teach you how to set your company up properly to maximize your opportunities to establish and build business credit. And then we're going to show you where to apply for business credit as you start to grow your company. So what is business credit? It's credit extended from one business, the creditor, to another, to you, the borrower. See, on the personal side, it's you and American Express. On this side, it's your business and American Express. When a creditor extends credit, the borrower can lease equipment, purchase inventory, etc., and defer payments over time. That's very important to your bottom line, to your cash flow position. Business credit is the largest source of business financing in the U.S., but it does not include business loans from banks, which we typically think that's the source of financing. No, it's still largest when you take out business loans, which most small businesses get. How many in the room have business credit accounts established already? 2, 3.
Raise hands up high.
Yeah. So about 5, and that's pretty much about the number that I found in Dun & Bradstreet. Yes. Did you have a question, or are you thinking about asking a question?
Not at all.
Okay, all right. Just like personal creditors, business creditors evaluate the credit worthiness of the applicant. Who's the applicant? Your company. It's not you. If your company has a business credit profile when they go to look for it, and a track record of paying bills, then you've got a good chance of getting credit. If you do not have a business credit profile established, what are they left to do?
They're not gonna give you any credit.
Or they're going to look to your personal credit. Because a person with an 800 FICO score, not TransUnion score, but a FICO score, can probably still get credit. And we're going to get into why you don't really want to do that in a second. But if you don't have business credit, you're going to look at your personal creditors. Why do you need business credit? Well, when I started my first business a long time ago, we do personal credit cards, savings, money, blah, blah, blah. Is that what most of us did?
Yes.
Most people don't start with a Capital One line of credit or loan. It's just not how it's done. Although 50% of all startup capital does come from friends and family, we usually just do it out of pocket. And while it's common, it's not optimal. Maximizing your financing options is the #1 reason why you need business credit. #2, it helps you get better credit terms, just like personal credit scores. The higher the score, the lower the interest typically charged. Same thing with a business. For example, if Company A has business credit, has a profile, they might be able to secure a 7% interest rate on a line. Company B, maybe 10%. The difference between the two over 7 years is $6,300. That's the cost of capital. Break that down into it's about $70, $80 a month. What's that? Phone bill for 7 years paid. You know, internet maybe for 7 years paid. Cash flow, it helps your cash flow. 3, makes it easier for creditors to assess your company's overall credit worthiness. Again, when you don't have business credit established, they have no other choice but to look at your personal credit. And if that's jacked up too, you're just jacked out. Right? And use jack instead of another word. You got it. So your overall credit worthiness as a small business is going to be your company's business credit alone. That's what we're striving for. That's why you have to read the book. Your personal credit alone, that's what we're trying to move away from. Or a combination of the two. Because let's be clear, even Sam Walton, for a time, had to personally guarantee Walmart's bills until a certain point where I was able to stand alone. As a small business, that will come in time as you follow these steps. A combination of the two at the beginning is gives you the most comprehensive picture of your overall creditworthiness. Because this is what can happen. You can apply as a business owner. Even if your business credit is good enough, Mr. Credit is going to want a personal guarantee, right? Just in case Katrina comes back or Mad Day comes or something like that. They prefer 2 guarantees to 1. But if you qualify, you don't have to give it. You can go to the next lender because you know you've done what you need to do. Having business credit helps you extend your company's cash flow. I told you about being a Katrina, whatever you want to call it. I left with my bills and everything else, but a couple of months before that, we were actually about to become a debt management company, actually the weekend of the storm, I'm starting to twitch now, where we had spent money, got computers, and I had to get a whole new server and everything else, and so we called Dell. I had the cash on hand. When I got the cash, that's when I called. So we went through, we built the computers, we were ready to order it, and I think the story's in the book. So the guy said, well, how are you going to pay for it? I said, cash. He said, hold on a second. Now, at this point, I had been following these steps for a little over a year, maybe. So he took a minute or two. He said, you've been approved for business credit. How are you going to pay for it now? Well, I said, get it on credit. That cash was still in the bank when Katrina came. And it was some of the only money that I had for a time to survive. It extended my company's cash flow and allowed us to return successfully. Business credit limits your personal liability for business debt. So again, you've got an 800 FICO score. You can go get a $10,000 credit card in your name and use it to pay business bills, right? No problem. But what happens if your kid gets sick? You've got all these wigs that you just ordered for, I don't know if anybody's got a hair shop. I didn't look that. I think somebody does. But I'm just saying, you get a bunch of wigs, a bunch of lawn care stuff, or a bunch of slabs of barbecue. I saw some of the businesses, you know, sitting up 10,000 over here, credit cards maxed out, kid gets sick. A hospital doesn't cover all, insurance doesn't cover it all, but you have no alternative. You've used your personal credit for business debts and it screws you in both places. So that's why we want to limit your personal liability by separating your debts on the business from that of the personal. And it builds credibility. That's one of the C's on the business side that's important, credibility. Because banks do business with businesses, but also with the people in front of them. You've got to be a credible business owner and a credible business, and that's what business credit helps to do. When should you begin to build business credit? Do we have any recent startups in the room? How long have you been in business?
For like less than a year.
For like less than a year. 3 months, 9 months, or 6?
3 months.
All right. So that's less. All right. And you?
2 years.
2 years. All right.
11 months.
11 months. So something that we're not going to address in the workshop tonight, but I'll just let you know. One of the benefits of being an older company is that creditors will say, well, they've been around for 2 years, so they must be doing something right if they've sustained themselves. Beware companies on the internet that will sell you what's called a shelf company. This is in the book, but it's not here, where they'll say, I'll sell you a company that's been around and maintained for 20 years, so you can then go to establish business credit accounts with a company that's 20 years old. That can be dicey, and Dun & Bradstreet has picked up on that. So the bottom line is, when you leave this room, you should begin, if you haven't begun already, the process of establishing a business credit profile and building business credit. Now, what is a business credit bureau? It's the exact same thing as a personal credit bureau, except for businesses. They gather and disseminate information on businesses, credit payments, etc., default judgments, and everything else. And they collect trade account information. Somebody mentioned that earlier. Why do we need business credit bureaus? Well, because every hour of every day, there are 87 new businesses started in the United States. 385 lawsuits, liens, judgments, and public records are filed against businesses every hour. 74 businesses change their telephone numbers, their addresses, or something else every hour. And 11 businesses every hour file bankruptcy. That's why it's important to know what's in the file, to keep it up to date, to make sure that your name is not reported, who is that? Backwards, in Dun & Bradstreet. We'll talk about that a little bit later. To make sure the information is accurate. Because back in when she talked about the fall of the economy, 2008, I mean, they would literally call and offer you credit over the phone. Bank of America, Capital One actually did it, and I remember exactly where I was when I got these calls. And the answer was always yes, why not, right? I was one of those accordion people. You know, turns out most of those accounts were backed by Citibank, and when the bottom fell out, they were also closed immediately. But the point is that this process does work. Where do business credit bureaus get their information? Payment and banking data from creditors. American Express sends it to Dun & Bradstreet, so that when they're evaluating other business clients, it's like mutual agreement. I'll send you what I've got on the people we've already got. I'll pay for a credit report on other businesses and evaluate whether or not we want to extend them creditors. Lawsuits, UCC filings, whenever you set up your LLC or incorporation, Dun & Bradstreet knows it. They pick that up immediately, and that's how some businesses end up in their system.
It does that.
And also corporate financial reports. Now, business credit bureaus would like you to submit your audited financial reports every year. Why would they want to see that?
See if you're making any profit.
Right. You said 2 years. That was you 2 years? That was you 2 years? All right. So you've been around 2 years, right? So they want to know if it's 100,000 or 100 million. And so they would really like to see your audited financial statements. Small businesses, we don't have to do that. That's not necessary, and it's difficult to maintain. Imagine, again, Katrina, that's the point of demarcation, because that's when I was doing this research. Had I been sending in my audited financials 1, 2, 3 years, and then the storm came, boom, nothing for the next 3 years. You know, and it wouldn't have been an accurate picture, because the reality was Katrina actually created more opportunities for the nonprofit to help continue helping people. So we don't want to do that, although they would like you to do it. When they call you, how many of you have gotten a call from a credit bureau, business credit bureau? Somebody was okay. How many of you answered a call from a business credit bureau? Because I'm pretty sure you have gotten one by this point, and I'll tell you why in a minute. They also look contracts, grants, loans, and debarments from the federal government. How many people, regardless of your business, wouldn't mind getting a federal grant? What about a federal loan or contract? Why not? Well, you're not going to get a grant either. I'm just throwing it out. So, work on a loan. We got techniques in the book. Those mystical so it's not part of the workshop, but I'm the guy 20 years ago that was buying all those books and then telling my friends you don't have to buy them because I've got them in my office if you want to see. So one of the grants from the federal government, from the SBA, that was rumored in one of these books, the guy with the question mark, you remember him? Big book. He said if you go to SCORE, the lady here from SCORE, and she sits down with you for 2 hours, and she's a professional, she could charge you $150 an hour for that, right? That's how he interpreted a free grant from the SBA. So he said, you just got $300 in granted dollars from the SBA. So it's twisting it. SBA doesn't give grants directly to most businesses. They do have some programs, but it's typically for nonprofits or national programs. So, internet website mining. How many of you have a website? So it's going to be everybody by the end of the program? That's the easiest way to position your business as a successful, large-looking company. You know, I know someone here is lawn care. You know, you've got a picture of a guy cutting a field with 300 acres behind him. You might have just stopped on the side of the road and took a picture of you know, one of your workers cutting grass. But the interpretation is, God, these guys have some large contracts. So that's one of the places they go. News stories, press releases, yellow pages, direct investigations and interviews with company owners and principals. That's why I said, when you get your DUNS number, when you start to establish your business credit, they're gonna call you. For those who are already in the system, I guarantee you've either gotten a postcard or a phone call from an 800 number. You might have blocked it. I don't look at them either because it might be spam. or other companies that have provided your company credit. So again, I mentioned American Express, Chase Bank, Target stores. Those companies report directly to business credit bureaus. It behooves them to do so because then on the back end, they'll crunch that information down to data that they can interpret as credit scores, credit risk scores, and other stuff. So that's why they allow it to happen.
I've gotten 3 or 4 pre-approved from American Express of the business. And so that's considered, so apparently I have some type of credit profile then for them to, that what
Which name of your business?
Euphoria Bridal.
You mean Boutique Euphoria Bridal?
No, it should be Euphoria Bridal
It
Boutique.
should
They
be.
got me in the reverse.
Right, in Dun and Bradstreet.
That-
So you're already in the system. You've now got to get in there and straighten that out, or your records will be based on the backwards.
Okay.
So you're the backwards person, nothing personal. It's probably one of his first, last, or whatever. I don't know what happened. But so you've gotten the mail, or you've opened the accounts,
No, I've been getting the mail.
but you don't have the corresponding accounts.
Nope, I have not.
So this is advice on the personal side stuff, pre-approved.
Yep.
You gotta follow that asterisk, those 1s, those 2s, and everything else down to the bottom.
Yeah, that's why I didn't accept it. I saw the terms. I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
So, well, also that it's pre-approved based on what we see,
Right.
not after we've looked at all the reports. But that's good though. See, to me, that'd be a good thing. You're on the radar. Now your step is to get up to the pre-approved where they say, call this number, get your card in 10 days. No hassle. All right, there are 7 major business credit bureaus: Business Insight, CreditNet, Equifax, notice them again, Equifax, Experian, notice them again, Lexus, Accurate Business, PayNet. So again, business credit bureaus collect and disseminate. By disseminate, I mean they sell. They sell this information to their clients. You mentioned TransUnion with, what was that, free credit report? Credit Karma.
Credit Karma.
So that's a contract, and Credit Karma is probably a TransUnion company, and they're marketing arm to get individuals buying their score. But their scores are always a larger or higher number range. So you see an 870 over there, which is beyond the FICO score range. You get excited, and you end up with the Yugo and not the Mercedes, because when you adjust it to what they really want to see. So, so they do this to make money, all right? So the 2 that we really want to learn about, the 2 that can help you establish and build business credit, are Experian and Dun & Bradstreet. So, Experian provides business credit reports on 27 million credit active businesses. A couple of years ago, it was 30. But they're very diligent and very precise at what they're trying to do. So they purged some companies, probably from disaster-prone areas. I mentioned again, I left Katrina with 2 things and this research. So when after Katrina, went to update my business credit information, guess what? Everybody in the disaster zone had been thrown out of business unless they were actively with a government contract or anything. They just made an assumption that every business was destroyed. And the sample business credit report in that book is, numbers are different, but it is everything that's contained in a business credit report, down to the statement that I copied that said would happen when they kicked us all out. So, Experian business credit reports come from the same places we talked about earlier. Website mining, for a long time, they didn't allow individuals to update or touch anything. You couldn't request to be added to their system. They had to find you first, and you had to, through osmosis, create a file. They have made some changes to that since then. Most of their information, however, still comes directly from the accounting systems of their major creditor clients, Chase and Target, are 2 of them. And the book would be really, really great if I could tell you who all of the companies were that reported to the business credit bureaus, because those would be the only accounts that you want to establish, because otherwise it's wasting your time. But I can't, because they won't tried, for years I've tried that. So Experian requires you to have at least one demographic element. Could be your address, could be a phone number, and the name of the business to generate a file on. When a report is generated, you get what's called an Experian BIN. It's a 9-digit number uniquely attached to your business and its subsidiaries around the country. If you go to look at Walmart, I'm pretty sure this is still accurate. You look up Walmart, they'll come up with the store in Arkansas, and then however many thousands of stores underneath that. But that one little store in Arkansas, if it's still open, is the first one. So that's your 9-digit number. That's like your, we're going to save that for a minute. So you need one demographic element, address, phone number, LLC filing, and then you need at least one trade payment account to generate a business credit score with Experian. So you open an account with a company that reports to Experian, you buy something, you make payments, you'll get a credit ranking score which will range from 0 to 100. Notice personal credit was at 300 to 850 or 350 to 8, somewhere in those ranges. This is 0 to 100. In the book, turn to page 16. I do remember this one. A score of 80 or above is a good business credit score because it means you've made your payments early, on time, or within terms. I reproduced the Dun & Bradstreet business credit score so you can look at see the difference between business versus personal. 80 means you're paying your bills on time. What's 79? 2 days late. On average, you're paying all of your bills 2 days late if you've got a 79. If you've got a 65, what is that, 20 days? 19, So what's the difference? Personal credit, 30, 60, 90, 120, judgment lien, whatever. With business credit, 2 days early, goes up. 2 days later, goes down. It's much more sensitive because it's so much more activity going on. I mean, we're talking $280 billion in business credit since just in one facet of the industry.
I have a question. So, like, for instance, I buy dresses from, let's say, Jonathan Kane. Jonathan Kane asks me for all my information when I set up the account. Are they reporting to Jonathan Bradstreet?
You got a net 30 account with them or something?
I just provided my credit card. They asked me, do I want to do net 30 or cash on delivery? I don't want to do that. I'm going to just pay it on my credit card. So when I have orders placed, it hits my credit card, and then they ship my stuff.
So you've probably qualified your business with them for a business credit account and net 30 account. And when you pay for it automatically, there's no activity, right? Okay. You're lacking activity. Mm-hmm. So, and we're going to get to why you might want to switch. Okay. Because it's about establishing and building business credit. Again, I had that accordion of credit card accounts not to use, but to establish a track record of getting them and using them for the business. So, with Experian, if you are in their system, you can now update some information. Again, that's relatively new because people tend to lie sometimes. With 350 acres. Who is the lawn guy? That's you? The 350 acres. What's your business?
Design.
Okay. So you design the shop you're going to take. So, but you can always say, I've got a $3,000 acre job. It might not be accurate. Because people embellish. I'm not going to call it a lie. Embellish, Or who's going to make $2 million this year? There we go. I might come $1,999,999 short. But if you're asking me the question today, I got 4 months to get the other money. So they limit what you can update because of some of those reasons. And that's where you go, business credit facts. And that website also has a lot of good Q&A questions that people generally ask that they've put up there for you to just really read and get to know. These are the things with Experian, if you are in their system, you can change. Your company name, you can get your name straight if it's not with that. Your doing business as name, if you've got one of those. Street address, number of employees, sales, executive, your standard industrial classification codes. I think it's still that with them as opposed to NAICS, any bonding or insurance information. Those are the demographic elements they will allow you to change. But if you change them, they will then work to verify that information, because the only way they can sell their reports is if people believe the information is what? Accurate. So keep that in mind. And Dun & Bradstreet, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm going through this rather quickly. Those who are familiar with Dun & Bradstreet, that's about their 4th logo in the last 8 to 10 years. They've been around for 165 years. They have credit information on 225 million businesses worldwide. So number 2 is 27, number 1 is 225.
Will they allow you to make any corrections to your business, like in case I'm repeating your for your private, will they allow me to correct that with them?
Yes. 2 minutes, maybe 3. And it's going to be a pain in the neck. You know. It's on their website. It's called iUpdate. Let's just talk about it now, where you can go in and make changes to your company if you move and stuff like that. But because they're trying to do what? Sell you a product or service, they make it difficult. And say, oh, well, you could. So you got to then call in. You know, I called them so many times about so much in this book, and some of it is now actually just dated. Without buying something, I always tell them I want to get it, but I'm not sure. For example, somebody mentioned on the personal side, renting. Who did the mortgages? That was you. So you can do the same thing to establish business credit. You can send some of your creditors to Dun & Bradstreet, and they can add it to your file. People you've already been paying, your landlord. If you've got an accountant that you pay every month, you can send that information out. If you've got an attorney on retainer, you can send that, and don't get excited. I'll tell you why, because the trick to it is, and it is in the book, and I expound on it in the book, what they don't tell you before you send them the money is that you can use some of your vendors and trade reference accounts that you pay on a monthly or quarterly basis, only if those companies have been in Dun & Bradstreet for 6 months or more, and only if those companies report directly to Dun & Bradstreet. So they're trying to get 2 accounts with 1. And so my attorney went to high school with me. My accountant was a bum, which is why we don't have that up. But you know, most small businesses aren't going to report directly to Dun & Bradstreet. So that's the challenge with doing that. If you know you've got some national accounts that are not reporting, and we're going to tell you where some of them are, that's not a problem. All right, and I see that's why I also said, I figured somebody got a call, you might not have answered it, because they make 125 million calls a year. And that's probably going up. Because they either want to verify you've started, like once you filed your LLC papers, you probably got a call. Once you signed your lease and moved in and got your first piece of mail, you probably got a piece of mail. Once you applied for anything, they're going to send you either an email, that's one of the services, that one's free. Someone just looked at your business credit report. Why don't you buy it from us to let you see what they looked at? So it's a very good chance that you've got it now. So with Dun & Bradstreet, they give you a DUNS number. It's also a 9-digit number. So your federal tax ID number is 9 digits. Social Security number is 9. DUNS number is 9. Experian number is 9. The DUNS number is to a business what a Social Security number is to an individual. Did you get that?
It's like a test question to me.
A DUNS number is to a business what Social Security number is. When you apply for personal credit, they're referencing your Social Security number. Now, when I first got my first federal tax ID number, I literally went to Office Depot to open a business credit account. Person said, well, that's not the number we use. But they didn't tell me what number they did use. It's the DUNS number. Your federal tax ID number, despite the fact that it may be on an application for credit or something, it's used for federal tax purposes, and as reference, they can tie it to your business, but your DUNS number is actually the number that it will help you establish and build business credit. Now, once you get that, Dun & Bradstreet has what's called the Paydex score. How many people have heard of that? So let's go over some of these names. FICO score, Paydex score, Experian credit score, TransUnion, they had the Vantage score, do you remember that? On the personal side. What are those? Those are marketing terms. Those are marketing terms to get people excited about their products. But the truth is, the Paydex score, as a small business owner, that's the one that's used in most business credit granting decisions. I'll make sure to be finished in 7 minutes. How's that? All right. So, in order to obtain a Paydex score, you need 4 trade payment experiences. So one account where you've ordered and paid, ordered and paid, ordered and paid, ordered and paid. 2 accounts twice, 3 accounts, 1 and 1, 2, with 4 trade payment experiences where you bought and paid for something. It also ranges from 1 to 100. We just looked at that. And a score of 80 or above is considered good. Dun & Bradstreet also has some more in-depth and detailed credit analysis tools. Commercial credit score predicts the likelihood of a firm paying in a delinquent manner greater than 98 days in the next 12 months. They actually know better than you do whether or not you're going to pay late. And those are those scores and risk ranges. Financial stress score, whether or not you're going to close your business in the next 12 months. Again, they know better than you. Now, when the banker, so you go to apply for a business loan, a snapshot, this is what it's going to look like. They're not going to get into the details because the business credit report can be 50 to 100 pages. This is the snapshot. What's the Paydex score? Okay. What's the credit score class? What's the stress score? And they can make an informed decision. It helps if you know the banker. It seems y'all have some bankers on the hook here, so stick with them. It helps. It helps. So the next thing we've got to do is set up our company properly. How many people have not set up their company yet? Everybody has. All right. So we're going to breeze through this. Federal tax ID, business license, commercial office. Texas has, what seems to me, other than California, more incubators than any other state. You can get a list of them if you need an office space. Telephone number in the name of the business. In the name of the business. Grasshoppers in the name of the business. Vonage. In fact, I had Vonage when Katrina came, and a Bell South line with the lines for the office, but the Vonage number was for Starts Month. Storm came, the virtual number, the Vonage number was the only one that worked for over a year. And you need the business bank account. He's already told you, threatened you about opening the account, so we're not going to get into that. Build a website, identify your business industry codes, those are North American industry classification codes, and prepare a company profile. That's one of the handouts that I gave you. And basically what it is, years ago when I was going through establishing credit and doing stuff, they always ask the same question. What's your address? How many employees? What's your insurance number? What's to this? What's to that? So we came up with one sheet of paper where we keep a lot of that information. It's just an example to do. And get your DUNS number. And once you've set up your business and you got your DUNS number, it's time to start establishing credit accounts because trade payment information is the #1 indicator for how a business will repay its obligations. So step 1, apply for and open new business credit trade accounts with business-friendly creditors. Who are they? People who ask you, ma'am, I see you keep giving us a credit card. Why don't you extend it for 30 days? Remember we talked about the cash flow? You're extending that cash flow. So that's what a business-friendly creditor is. I've given you, and I was up really late last night, double-checking the new ones. In the book, again, I listed about 90 to 100 Some of them may or may not be around anymore. The ones with the physical applications I gave you are all active, business-friendly creditors that you can start to open accounts with. Granger, how many people have heard of Granger? One of the easier accounts to get.
I wanna make sure I understand. Use the DUNS number when I open up those accounts.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Once you get your DUNS number, you should be able to open up business-friendly credit accounts.
Why don't they send you something in the mail saying, hey, here's your DUNS number?
I've got an MBA. I had to get it put out of my city by storm to learn this information. Nobody, I don't know where they teach it in my book now. And Dun & Bradstreet has now started biting off my book. But, and it's not just me. There was a proliferation of that information going around. But I don't know, people just don't share that. I don't know why. Right, that's sad. But I had to pay for an extra degree and still didn't hear about it. And I'm still paying for it. So that's sadder. So these are some other business-friendly creditors here. But that's why I wrote the book. Step 2, make purchases using those new accounts. Again, small amounts, you know, a lot of these are going to be basic supply accounts. You use trash bags, toilet paper at your house, all the stuff you can get. Make your payments on time or early. On time or early. And keep repeating those steps until you've got at least 4 or 5 payments, and you'll be good. The resulting information will get you a paydex score. A paydex score is to a business what a FICO score is to an individual. The FICO score is the one that bankers really look at. They don't, that's the one you want to know. The paydex score, you want to know how you're going to do, that's the one you want to know. These are some other business-friendly creditors. Once you have a paydex score, the challenge then is to continue on the path until you get to a certain point. I got to the point where I walked into a car dealership, said, this is the car I want, leased it. When I went to pick it up, I was looking for my name. It was in the name of my business. And it was not on my personal credit report. That's a big point that I was going to gloss over because I'm rushing. The whole purpose is to take your business debts and remove them from your personal credit report. So I had a brand new car that wasn't on my personal credit report. We had a large copier that wasn't on the personal credit report. And and the computers from Dell and other stuff, that was not on the personal credit report. So when Mad Day came, when Hurricane Katrina came, and my house, they sent me a check to pay off my house. I paid off my personal credit, but I still had this stuff over here. Still paid, made the payments, and had perfect personal credit and growing business credit. That's the deal. Because again, if something happens in your life personally, you want that access to credit for your personal needs, as well as access to credit for the business needs. And you want to separate them as